I'm Jackie Black, and I'm here to tell you about the history of the Woman Air Force service pilots, who are also known as the WASP. I was named after Jacqueline Cochran, founder of the WASP, and my sister was named after Amelia Earhart, so I feel that this turning point in history was meant for me to research. Before the WASP was established, women rarely flew airplanes, with the exception of the few courageous women such as Amelia Earhart and Anne Lindbergh, both famous for defying conventional feminine behavior. Men typically had the jobs of manufacturing and flying. Jacqueline Cochran, a pioneer American aviator, considered to be one of the most gifted racing pilots of her time, recognized the prejudice in this and saw an opportunity in World War II to help the war effort with women and free up able-bodied men to fight on the front lines. In this play, I'll be playing the part of Elizabeth Betty Walsh-Dreyfus, former WASP. I'm going to take you back in time to show you what it was really like to be a WASP. They faced many dangerous tasks and obstacles, but they were doing what they loved most, flying. And it all started with Jackie Cochran. A true adventurer at heart, Jackie Cochran first took to the air in 1932. Only 3 years later, she entered the Bendix Transcontinental Air Race. Finally, in 1938, she set the speed record, placing first. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, sending the United States into World War II against both the Japanese and the Germans. Millions of men were called into the armed forces, and thousands were trained as pilots. By 1943, so many men had been lost in combat that instructor and ferry pilots based stateside were called to replace them. This left huge vacancies for testing and ferrying new planes coming off the production line. Jacqueline Cochran suggested to General Hap Arnold that women could replace the stateside men as pilots. The media, general public, and Congress all considered this ridiculous. Women can't fly, especially not warplanes, or so they thought. Right after my high school graduation in 1943, I joined an all-male flying club in Faribault, Minnesota. Hi guys, my name's Liz, and I would like to join your flying club. One of your members took me for my first ride, and it was love at first flight. What? It's $100 to join? That's 2 months' pay. Well, I'll take a loan out of the bank and pay it back as soon as I can. Oh my goodness, here's an ad looking for women to fly in the military. Come join WASP. We need you to join the Woman Air Force Service Pilots. If you join the WASP, you'll be able to fly. Must have a pilot's license with 35 hours? Oh no, I only have... Hey instructor, let's prop this plane and get in the air. Well, I've sold in the Cub and built up my flight time. This is a blast, and I'm heading in for my physical. And, of course, I'm too short. I need to be 5'3". And, oh look, an eagle. Now measure me. Yay! I passed. I headed down to Avenger Field, Sweetwater, Texas. $25,000 applied, but only 1,800 were accepted. We lived in the barracks in the hot Texas sun. We physical trained and marched everywhere. And one, and two, and We had to wear the smallest men's flight suits and roll up the cuffs and sleeves, since there are no women's flight suits.
Way out in West Texas where the water is sweet, with cactus and rattlesnakes 6 feet deep. They cut off the top of a big old hill and they named it Avenger Field. What a field. Too dusty, not fit for humans. They built the barracks 6 cots to a room, filled them with cadets, but they found out soon those boys couldn't take it too hot, no air, so they moved them out and put the gals in there. Oh, we couldn't take it. Go on to mama, dream on, fly boys, dream on. We got the stuff, the right stuff. We got the stuff. Summer's so hot, we put our cots outside. Winter's so cold, we shovel snow bust high. March to the flight line, sang all the way. Wished on the whale that we could stay. Make it through the check ride and show those guys. Show them what? We got the stuff, the right stuff. We got that stuff.
We started out in the Fairchild PT-19. Since it was open cockpit, we had to yell to be heard by our instructors, as there weren't any intercoms or headsets back then. If we passed primary flight training, then we moved up to the Vault-T BT-15. Then we finally advanced to the AT-6, and believe me, we loved the extra horsepower and aerobatics. Training went on for 6 months. It was tough, as only 1,074 of us graduated from training and earned our wings. We had about the same graduation rate as men. Who knew? I was sad to see most of my classmates headed off to ferry new planes from factories to training locations. But I was really excited. I went up to Las Vegas Army Airfield Base and flew a B-26 bomber. Yes, sir, woman Air Force service pilots. Liz Strophus reporting for duty. What would you like me to bomb with this B-26 bomber? Excuse me, you want me to tow a target behind a plane while fighter pilots shoot at me? Do they ever miss and hit the tow plane? Not often. Okay, hand me the keys. Sadly, I lost 38 of my fellow WASPs due to aircraft accidents. At another pilot's base, their plane crashed shortly after takeoff. Sugar was found in the gas tanks. Sabotage by male mechanics was suspected, although no further investigation was done. By 1944, the United States had gained air superiority over both Japan and Germany, and combat losses in the air were decreasing. Soldiers were being returned to the United States and being trained for ground duties. Congress forced General Hap Arnold to shut down the program, and the Women Air Force service pilots were disbanded on December 20th, 1942. It was a lousy Christmas. We were expected to go home, get married, and have children, not to be pilots. After the war, I applied to Northwest Airlines and was turned down because any record of the WASP flying was sealed and forgotten by the government. I returned home to Faribault, Minnesota, got married, and raised a family, just like I was supposed to. In 1979, I helped lobby Congress to recognize WASPs as veterans. Finally, we were awarded the veteran status. Then, in March 2010, we were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. The Secretary of Air Force said, almost 70 years ago, the Women Air Force service pilots were disbanded with little fanfare, but this ceremony was a way to make things right for the trailblazers. As a result of your conviction and your devotion to duty, from that time onward, women would forever be a part of the United States military aviation. More than 200 of my surviving WASPs attended the event, most of them wearing their World War II era uniforms. We are also featured on the front page of the Washington Post. Now I am proud to see women flying regularly in the military and civilian world. They fly as Air Force Thunderbirds and as Navy Blue Angels, fighter and bomber pilots, and even as women astronauts. Jackie Cochran went on to set over 200 aviation speed records, more than any other person in history. For her work to support the war, she was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal in 1945. She was also the first woman to break the speed of sound and twice the speed of sound. She was truly a wonderful and visionary woman to lead the WASPs. And as Jackie Black, it was especially memorable for me to be able to meet Liz Strophus last year at the Wings of the North Air Expo. She agreed for me to be able to interview her in February. She is as sharp and as lovable as she was 70 years ago, even at 93 years of age. She also went for a flight in the Cirrus and flew it just like her World War II planes. Thank you, Women Air Force Service pilots, for your part in history.